Donald Trump está entrando en pánico como nunca antes porque jamás imaginó que su escándalo con Jeffrey Epstein llegaría a los niveles que ha alcanzado ahora. Nunca se imaginó recibir tanta presión por miembros republicanos dentro del Congreso. Y es más, ni siquiera solo dentro del Congreso, sino que también fuera de él. Todo esto para que por fin se liberen los archivos de Jeffrey Epstein y sean información para el público entero. Y eso fue lo que vimos por parte de Ro Khanna y de Thomas Massie, mismos que tuvieron entrevistas con las víctimas y sobrevivientes de Jeffrey Epstein y Ghislaine Maxwell. Ellos valientemente contaron sus historias y también informaron que están siendo atacados por Donald Trump. Así es, Donald Trump las está atacando y vamos a hablar de esto durante todo el video. Ahora, antes de entrar en este colapso totalmente brutal de Donald Trump con el presidente de Polonia en la oficina oval, quiero empezar con otra cosa que lo hizo colapsar, y esto es el nivel de crimen dentro de Washington, D.C. Miren, por favor.
Look at Washington, D.C. 3 weeks ago. It was the same or worse, and now it's considered a totally safe zone. Restaurants are open, they're bustling. Restaurants, you have to see, restaurants were dying. Nobody wanted to go out. They didn't want to be attacked. They didn't want to be mugged. They didn't want to be attacked even in the restaurant. And you take a look at what's happened. Friends of mine that haven't gone to a restaurant in 4 years, one of them went out 5 times in the last 2 weeks to a restaurant with his family. They feel totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%. We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New York. We could do it with Los Angeles. So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago, or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad.
Es muy vergonzoso para Estados Unidos seguir siendo representados por Donald Trump. Él en este momento se encuentra más débil y patético que nunca, y aún así se encuentra pidiéndole a todos los republicanos que anulen esta petición de descarga y que detengan completamente la publicación de los archivos de Jeffrey Epstein. A él le gusta hacerse pasar por un tipo duro, pero todo es falso, porque él habla de bajar la criminalidad dentro de Washington, D.C., pero el mayor criminal dentro de Washington, D.C. es él mismo. Y el divague no se detuvo ahí, porque Donald Trump también quería parecer fuerte frente a líderes mundiales. Así que empezó a hablar de forma descabellada sobre los aranceles antes de tocar el tema bueno de que le pregunten sobre Jeffrey Epstein. Miren el clip, por favor.
Federal income tax. Possible. Do you think that someday it's possible? It used to be. So if you go back to 1913 is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income taxes. From 1850 to 1913. In the 1887s, about 1887, they had the Great National Tariff Act. And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. We had so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people that were set up to hand out money to everybody because we were the richest we ever were. Proportionately, we were in 1887, around that time, even in 1913. We ended them in 1913. How did that work out? And then we went to the income tax system, and then we had the Depression. And by the way, a lot of people try and say that, oh, tariffs with the Depression. No, they ended in 1913.
Él no tiene la menor idea de lo que está diciendo. Para este punto, todo es un teatro político y Donald Trump simplemente está actuando. Pero como te vengo diciendo desde hace varios días, en este teatro político, Donald Trump simplemente no se sabe sus líneas. Donald Trump ya ni siquiera sabe lo que está diciendo y sigue repitiendo esto que dentro de la Casa Blanca hay 30.000 millones de dólares sentados. Y Donald Trump le dice a su equipo que revise el estante de los aranceles, pues él asume que ahí hay 30.000 millones de dólares. Bueno, y yo asumo que esto es una gran forma de darnos cuenta qué tanto lo miman sus aduladores y qué tan incoherente es Donald Trump incluso tras bambalinas. Donald Trump ya ni siquiera sabe lo que está pasando, pero lo que sí sabe es que quiere que esta historia de Jeffrey Epstein sencillamente desaparezca. Por eso, cuando un reportero le preguntó sobre este tema, simplemente perdió la cabeza. Miren el clip, por favor.
Right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massie, who who was sponsoring a discharge of physicians who get the House to vote on these documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do. All run by Democrats, or for the most part, run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success, like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever.
Llamar a esto una farsa, mientras víctimas de Jeffrey Epstein están diciendo todo lo que ocurrió, es simplemente repugnante. Sé que a nadie en absoluto le sorprende que Donald Trump haga estas cosas, pero tenemos que parar de normalizarlo. Tenemos que parar de decir, bueno, esto es repugnante, pero es Donald Trump. Él iba a hacer esto. No. Yo sé que esto puede pasar con Donald Trump, pero no puede quedar ahí. No podemos decir simplemente, ay, Donald Trump es así. No. Hay que hacer las cosas bien, demandarlo, no permitir que simplemente se salga con la suya por ser Donald Trump. El presidente de Estados Unidos está tratando de menospreciar la historia de personas que vivieron cosas horribles, de empujarlas al margen, de crear espectáculos para que simplemente la gente se olvide de ellas. Porque obviamente no quiere que nadie le dé un enfoque a personas que sufrieron con Jeffrey Epstein y Ghislaine Maxwell, porque obviamente él está involucrado con estos dos monstruos, porque personas no son. Así que te invito a que mires este clip, por favor.
Look, this is coming up in town halls across the country. The reason you know that they can't sweep it across the rug is you have Republicans themselves, like Comer, asking for the Epstein files, subpoenaing for the Epstein files. I mean, if they thought this was a non-issue, they would just go quiet. You know, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene calling still for the Epstein file release. It's not just Thomas Massie. And they're spending $20 million to try to defeat Massie, to intimidate Republicans from speaking out. Why is it such an issue? Because people are saying, what hold do a few people have on the United States government that they are so powerful that they can prevent the United States government from releasing these files? I mean, it's pretty amazing, right? We're the superpower of the world. We've got these files, and there's some group of people who have such power that they can stop the President of the United States from releasing the files, even though he promised to do so. And that's why people are saying it's just not fair. We need to release the files. We're going to have the files released with Massie and my bill.
Yeah, and you two have done such great work on this issue, not just bringing attention to it, but starting to convince some of at least Massie's Republican colleagues. Through any point of this, I know it's important that we have, you know, a little bipartisanship on this issue, but if you just like looked at him and said like, hey man, does this not change your mind about how you view Donald Trump? Like if he's broken this promise and now he's trying to spend $20 million to get you out of office to stop talking about it, I don't know, would some Republicans, how are they not kind of like coming around on this and seeing it as a larger thing?
Well, Massie has always been principled. I mean, he's never been one to just follow Donald Trump's marching orders. And he's disagreed with Trump. We did the Iran War Powers resolution again. But the key, and it's a difference, I guess, in my approach and some others in our party, is my view is that the way to win over the MAGA base is not to try to embarrass them or ostracize them or shame them or ridicule them. It's to say, where can we have common ground? We have common ground in no dumb wars. We have common ground in transparency. We have common ground in helping deindustrialized towns bring manufacturing. And then saying, give us a look, give us a chance as a Democratic Party that we may have a better solution, a better vision. And by the way, we're going to work where we have common ground and we'll fight where we don't. And I just think that approach is what's ultimately going to win back the voters who voted for Obama twice and now have voted for Trump twice.
Yeah, and I think that this issue really speaks for itself when talking about bringing people back in. I see so many times kind of two things on like the meta messaging around the Epstein files. The first is that I feel like so many are so quick to tie everything into this. Of course, like on its own, it's a class issue. Donald Trump is protecting himself, but obviously other billionaire elites and anyone who has power to influence him. But at the same time, I also see in the messaging around this, anything that's not talking about the Epstein files is claimed to be a distraction. We have a takeover of Washington, D.C. right now, and a lot of people have said that it's a distraction from talking about the Epstein files. Now, I think that we should be talking about the Epstein files as much as we can. Obviously, you're not going to disagree with that, but this line of like things are a distraction, I don't think it works, and I don't think it's smart. Because other issues matter. Like, what would be your messaging advice to Democrats who maybe jump to the distraction line to try to elevate the Epstein files instead of just saying that all of these things can kind of exist as their own issues?
With respect, they need to get out of their own head and listen to people. We don't determine what's a distraction in Washington, D.C. We should be following what people are talking about. And if you're out there on town halls, a lot of times I'll lead with the terrible cuts on Medicaid, the tax breaks for the wealthy, the cuts to meals for veterans. And the first question will be about the Epstein files. Now, why is that? Because people feel that the system is broken, that the system has led to a nation that's half prosperous and half in decline, that the system has led to the rich having a better experience of life and the working class and middle class not knowing how their kids are going to have the American dream. And so Epstein is an example, a symbol for the rich and powerful getting the government they want while shafting everyone else. And if you're not on the side of changing that system, of exposing that system, of calling out that rotten system, then you don't get it, and you're not going to be effective in modern politics.
Yeah, it's the first time I think in a while that we've been very effective in picking a good enemy. Obviously, talking about a billionaire class that controls everything in our country is a way that we've won. The last time I think that we really nailed this was Project 2025. It's like Donald Trump always creates either a good boogeyman or he creates good enemies to carry out his corruption against. Like obviously, what Donald Trump is doing to suppress actual speech at universities, making sure that if you're fighting for and speaking on behalf of the Palestinian human rights and you're calling out a genocide that's taking place right now in Gaza, Donald Trump is going to try to silence you, but he's doing it by attacking universities that are already unpopular, right? And I don't think that we have done the best job in kind of creating the good enemies. Where do you find that in the issues that we need to win on? That like what is an enemy that you would like to see? I know we want a positive aspirational vision, but like where are other good enemies for Democrats to frame our fight around?
Well, Dr. King once said, attack the system, not the specific players in the system. And to me, the enemy is this rotten, corrupt system that has allowed wealth to pile up in districts like mine while hollowing out the working and middle class. The enemy is the billionaires that are allowed to have super PACs and basically control elections. The enemy is the corporate greed that has hollowed out industries across America. The enemy is all of the special interest groups that have led to a foreign policy that is indifferent to the famine in Gaza and the suffering in Gaza and human rights. The enemy is all of the special interest groups that have made America's healthcare the most expensive in the world with some of the least outcomes when it comes to maternal mortality and infant mortality. Those are the enemies. I mean, and what we need to say is we're going to take on big money. We're going to take on economic inequality. We're going to take on the corruption in politics, and we're going to offer an affirmative vision back. Now, can we call out specifics when it matters? Absolutely. But if you're just demonizing an individual, if you're just demonizing a particular business, and you're not making systemic change, you're not making actual change, things aren't going to be different.
Yeah, because I feel like Palantir is a great example of this. Like talking about a surveillance state that Republicans for the longest time said that they were the ones they were worried about it, but it was Democrats who were going to be looking through your messages and then taking away your rights, your liberties, your freedoms. And now it's like the guy who created JD Vance's career and is now receiving so much in these government contracts. Like, I think that's an example of how we do this, and we make a good case against like kind of a boogeyman. I think it's important for us to have a boogeyman. I think Trump does that well. Of course, now he's done it again with these mass firings that we see at the CDC, and we need in this moment, as we've failed to so many times, to actually take on what might be to the broader public like an unpopular institution. I think we did a good job making sure that people realize the importance of USAID. I think we've turned people around on Donald Trump's immigration agenda. It was popular at the beginning of his administration. It's incredibly unpopular now. I think the CDC is an example where people obviously, and for good reason, distrust our healthcare system, distrust pharma, distrust like what is in our food. But at the same time, like Donald Trump firing these people, RFK Jr. firing these people, these mass purges don't help. How do we take an institution that's kind of unpopular and change how people view it, in your opinion?
Well, we need to make sure that we're for reforms in these institutions to show that the institutions are actually working for everyone. For a long time, that people have felt that the government is working for those who are affluent, for making money, and it isn't working for them. But I think that we don't need to mimic Donald Trump. I mean, he has been the most fear-based president for 2 terms. Mm-hmm. He has had a policy of division, of stoking hatred. And the American people are bigger than that. The American people have a goodness in their heart, have an ambition in their heart. They have a longing to actually do big things. And what we need to say is that Donald Trump isn't offering a sense of strength. He's offering the most small type of junior high-like politics. That's not what it means to be a man. That's not what it means to be a person of character. The American people are bigger than that, are stronger than that. We're dreamers and we're builders. And while he's offering a nihilism of despair and destruction and division, we're offering an affirmative vision of this country's capability to do big and important things. And that includes Medicare for all, getting rid of super PACs, childcare at $10 a day, living wage, putting more money in the pockets of workers, making sure that we have free public college, 1,000 trade schools, that we are building an economic vibrancy in every community across America. I call it a 21st century Marshall Plan economic patriotism. But this country is desperate to be inspired. And you know what? Just because Donald Trump won twice on fear, yeah. Have we forgotten Reagan? Have we forgotten John F. Kennedy? Have we forgotten Bill Clinton? Have we forgotten Barack Obama? Like, have we forgotten FDR? Should we just copy Donald Trump because that was the one time that worked? Or should we look at presidents who are actually going to be more respected and offer something more visionary?
Do you think it is a different type of, maybe fear is the wrong word, but a contrast of what the politics of the past, or I guess the politics of the past post-Citizens United years have been? Is that a contrast that you think is a fear of billionaires, or is that more kind of illuminating just the overreach that they have in our politics?
Well, there's no doubt that billionaires have too much influence in our politics, and Citizens United has made it worse. That's just a statement of fact. And the person who's pointed that out is Bernie Sanders. And but it's not enough just to say that. Every Democrat will say that, and then I say, okay, are you for a wealth tax? Yeah. Are you for taxing the billionaires and millionaires more? Because I am. Where are you on that? Or are you just for platitudes? Yeah. Are you for actually banning super PACs in Democratic primaries? Or are you just for platitudes? Are you for a financial transaction tax, or are you for platitudes? See, the reason people love Bernie Sanders is because he wasn't just platitudes. Yeah. He had specifics, as did Elizabeth Warren, about how to change things. And I think that the one thing the American people are tired of is platitudes. You'll have these Democratic politicians come up. I am not for the status quo. I'm an anti-establishment. The old guard needs to go. I'm the new thing. Well, are you for taxing wealth? Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. Are you for making sure that we don't have military weapons going to Israel that are killing civilians? I don't want to talk about that. Are you for actually having free public college and trade schools? I don't want to talk about that, but I'm for a new direction. That is not going to fly anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm tired of the strongly worded letters, of the press conferences. I said this recently. It's like, it's not even that Democrats want fighters; we want killers. Like, don't go out and just like say something. Like, actually do. I appreciate you bringing the heat on that, and as I always do, and I appreciate you making sure that people are still paying attention and calling out the Epstein cover-up. Thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate the time, Congressman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Muchas gracias por llegar al final del video. Yo cumplí con mi misión, que es informarte como lo hago todos los días. Como siempre te digo, para mí lo más importante es tu opinión y me encantaría que la pongas en los comentarios. Además, si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.